In this session, we're going to discuss how to develop an estimate within UnitsPro. On the screen, we have the owner's project manager's dashboard and his area manager's dashboard open. We can go into job design through manage jobs, and on the design tab is a link to the design transaction. Alternately, we can go straight to the design transaction. So depending on where you are, you can get to these transactions pretty easily. Now that we're here, the first thing we need to do is say we're ready to begin the design. This will update the dashboards and the statuses, and it brings in a location 0. So what we want to be able to do here is go through and update our location information, add a reference, data as appropriate, and fully populate the location level data. We can add additional locations. They'll come in sequentially. We can go back and insert a location. We can reorder these locations. So very utilitarian in its process. We're going to go ahead and delete all but that first location, because alternately to manually entering this data, we can go to a job locations transaction where we can now copy and paste the information if we have it available. This data came from a staking sheet. Save that and close it. And now all of our pertinent information is entered and ready to go. UnitsPro, we can develop several automated transactions for you to pull this data from any design tool that you may be using. We've done it quite successfully with AutoCAD tools and any other design tool that is data-based. We can create imports for. Next task is to build up a detail. So we can go to a location and we're going to start adding our detail. Here's our action. And we can start looking at our specifications. Here's a crane set of a steel pole, haul and spot, steel pole and framing, and so forth. We just start building this right up. There's a copy detail here. If for some reason we want a location twice, or a detail twice within a location, we can go ahead and copy that. We also have a very popular utility called copy location. What many designers will do is build a tangent location, an angle location, and a dead end location. Then to replicate those, they'll just come into this transaction, say I need all of these at the following locations, and continue, and it copies it over. We can delete our transaction data here, and that's what we're going to do, because again we have a staking sheet. So I'm going to go back to a location details transaction, and this provides a place to just copy and paste in our data. I'm going to get my columns in the same order as my staking sheet, come over to my staking sheet and pick this data up and bring it over here and paste it in. And this paste is not only bringing in the data, but it's validating the data, validating that these specifications actually do indeed exist for the contracts and spec books that we're using on this job. Once that's in, I can come back. Now I see my detail laid in. We have a show hide estimate details button down here. Just try to keep this data tidy so we don't have to see everything all the time, but it shows our unfactored hours, unfactored dollars, factored hours, factored dollars for every location. So factoring is the next step that we really want to look at. We can factor at a job level. Here we have work week. Work week factor only factors price. It does not impact or change hours. So we believe our work groups will need to work this on a 60-hour basis. And then this job is in a particularly wet area. We expect that's going to impact their productivity. So we're going to give it a global factor of 10%. And when we come back here, right now we're setting at 2,300 hours and $270,000 for the labor. We're going to update this estimate, and that now includes our factoring. Go back to this location, and going through this job, this location may be particularly problematic, and this one needs an additional 10% on it also. And we'll go ahead and update our estimate, and at that point that adds an additional 10% hours and dollars to that location. Some owners also have a location detail factor, so there would be a factor available right here which each one of these units could be individually factored. This owner does not have that level of detail. So once we have all of our location detail information entered in, we've gone through and factored the job as we feel is appropriate. We have estimated values. This job is sitting at $360,000. We're in good shape, and in our next session we're going to go through and we're going to validate our pricing.